Hello everybody, great to see so many people here. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got an hour today talking about what AI means for us in 2026 and beyond. And so I can see some people still coming in through the sneaking into the back row. So let's get started and we'll have this time together where we'll get some chance to explore what AI means for you, your team, and your whole organization. So my 3 rules of engagement, people who've been here before will know this, that I always love you to actually give you some things to think about in this session. Can I encourage you to think big now? And then if you need to walk it back later, when life and work gets in the way, that's easier than just narrowing your thinking now and then trying to take on everything later. And the second thing is I want you to be a bit playful in this session. So it is being recorded, and if you're just watching the recording, hello to you, so you don't get the benefit of the interactive play. But for everyone else, lean in. I've got some questions for you. I've got some activities for you. I've got the chance for you to ask me questions. So make the most of it, and you'll get more out of it, and everybody else in the room will get more out of it as well. And the last thing is I really want to give you some things that you can take away and put into action. So, and I don't mean in 3 months from now or even 3 weeks from now. It might be 3 hours from now as soon as we finish. All right, I want to do a little bit of a Where's Wally here. I often do this at the start of my presentations, just looking at the people who registered. Most of them are from Australia and around. But if you can please, just in the chat, type in where you're from. And we'll see where everyone is coming in from. Okay, so mostly around Australia. I know we have a few of our Kiwi friends who registered as well, and they're coming in. Great win in the T20 World Cup semi-final last night for our friends across the ditch. Okay, good. Thanks everyone. Thanks for taking part in that. So today we're talking about AI, and look, some people know this, but for us 2026 is a really big anniversary year for AI. So I asked ChatGPT to make me a happy birthday cake, and here's what it came up with. It should be happy anniversary, but you can see it struggled with birthday and happy, so I didn't want to let it lose an anniversary. But this is the 70th year of AI. So some people would say 70, 71 years, but the first AI conference was held back in the 1950s. And it was just a whole bunch of techie people using AI, or they came up with this idea that maybe we could get machines to learn rather than having to program to do everything step by step. And that was 70 years ago. Now, of course, we've all got access to really powerful AI literally at our fingertips. So I'd just like to know, just to get a pulse of what's happening in the room, just on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's a bit subjective, how much are you using AI in your organization? So not only you personally, but in your organization. How much do you reckon your organization's using AI? Okay, so good. Good. Okay, so it's around about right in the middle, pretty much. So, and also remember, this is kind of a self-selecting group. The people who've had enough interest in it to come along to my presentation and maybe already using it, or maybe just coming because you're not using it and you want to make more use of it. So it doesn't matter where you are in terms of your AI usage. In fact, particularly in today's presentation, it doesn't matter where you are in your AI usage because, well, I'll tell you why, but we'll come back to that. Okay, so just keep in mind, wherever you are, look at what you're going to do next with AI, because AI is changing so fast. Just because you're not using it now, it doesn't mean you've missed the train. You can absolutely get on it now, but just don't wait any longer. And for me, I was using AI back when I was studying at uni at the University of Western Australia more than 30 years ago. So I did a computer science degree and my thesis was in AI. So I've been kind of following and tracking and researching AI since the 1900s. Now, most people haven't been using it that much. Okay, so before we get into looking at AI, I've got a little bit of a puzzle for you. I said that this is going to be interactive, so be a bit playful here. I have shown this before in presentations, but I think the last time may have been a couple of years ago. So I'm going to share with you 4 things, 4 organizations, 4 companies, and ask you what they have in common. There's more than one correct answer to this, but just type in the chat what you think they have in common. And even if you've heard me and you know the answer that I'm looking for, that's okay. Type it in. Go right ahead. Don't hold back. Okay, here are the 4 companies. Groupon, which is that kind of coupon marketing advertising company. Slack, which is one of the world's fastest growing tech companies some years ago, soon after it launched. It's kind of an alternative to now. People are using Teams, the whole Teams suite, for communication and chat in workplaces. Uber, we all know about Uber, Uber cars and a whole bunch of other services, and WhatsApp, the messaging service. Okay, so in the chat, please tell me what you think those companies have in common. There's more than one right answer to this, by the way. Online service is a common response. Digital is, they are all digital. Absolutely true. I was speaking to a senior leader when I first did this, and she said, these are all things that my Gen Z kids can't do without. So yeah, they use AI, they make money or try to. They were disruptors. They're remote. They made a fast transition to AI. Yeah, they did, as did many others. So David said they all launched in 2008, which is right. And that's kind of related to the answer that I'm particularly looking for. So there's nothing wrong with any of these answers. Most of them are right. But they all launched at the time of the global financial crisis. Okay, now Australia was quite insulated from the GFC, but other parts of the world, especially the industrialized world, were really badly affected by it. And yet these companies took that opportunity to launch their business. And you might think it's really risky in time of crisis to start a new company. And yet in some ways it's almost easier, because a crisis has done some of the disruption for you. Customers are looking elsewhere for other options. And so you start a company and they're already got the mindset of, we don't know what's going on. Let's look at somebody who can solve our problems for us. They change their priorities, they change their desires, they change their goals. And as a result of that, they're looking for other opportunities. Okay, here's another one. These are another 4 companies. This one's a little bit easier, I think. Most people will get this faster. This is not related to the first 4, by the way. And they're not related to AI either. Okay, we'll get to AI, but I'm showing you these examples first to make a point. Okay, here are 4 other things. These are not companies. So having QR codes at pubs and cafes, having hybrid work or flexible work or working from home, having running online meetings and online presentations like we're doing now, and click and collect. Okay, so what do those 4 things have in common? Yeah, look, enough. Lots of people have got this. Pandemic, COVID. Yeah, that's true, right? But what was COVID? Coronavirus, was this deadly little virus, an invisible virus that shut down the whole world. So what's COVID got to do with technology and QR codes and working from home? Well, it doesn't directly, but as a result of the pandemic, as a result of this invisible virus that spread around the world, things around the world changed. And the same's happening with AI now. So AI, whether or not you like it, you loathe it, you're using it, you're not using it, it doesn't matter. It's already changing the world. And if you aren't adapting to that new world, then it's a challenge for you. It's a real challenge for you. So I asked you earlier, how much are you using AI? Let me ask you another question. How do you feel about AI? This time I'd like you, rather than using the chat, to use your emoji buttons on your on Zoom to tell me how you feel about AI. So put some sort of emoji that shares how you're feeling about it. Okay, and you can see some thumbs up. That's good. Yep. People are going, oh. All right, good, right? So nice to see that there's a range of responses to that. And this is going to be the case. Like different people have different views of AI and what impact it's going to have for them, for their teams, and even for the organization and the wider community as well. And I've been talking about this for a long time, the impact that AI is going to have. In fact, here's a slide. I was looking through my old slides. This is one from 2018, and I was talking about the future of leadership, which is what I talk about a lot. And in 2018, I had this slide. I said 10 years ago, everyone was talking about tech. 5 years ago, everyone was talking about skills and how we need to look at skills rather than jobs and careers. And I said in 2018, now everyone's talking about talent. And you might remember that. This is pre-COVID. Everyone was talking about the war for talent. And I said in 5 years from now, the big thing will be AI. 2023, and that's pretty much right. So ChatGPT launched just before that, but pretty much 2023. So now, 3 years forward from now, we're now thinking differently about AI. In 2023, in fact, when I was talking about this, I wasn't just going, oh, well, I told you so, but I was also saying, this is how you use AI. This is what AI is. This is why you need AI. So now I'm saying, everyone knows that you need AI, and you need to understand that AI is changing the world. What are you going to do about it? So can I again ask you in the chat, as I said to you, this is going to be very interactive. Can I ask, just in the chat, share whatever you're willing to share in how you're using AI in your organization. Just in a word or two, how are you using it? The way that you're using it the most. Just in a word or two, and we'll see what people are saying. Writing, research, yes, sounding board. Okay, and I'm really pleased to see there's a wide range of responses here. Research is absolutely one of the biggest uses of it, and one of the most useful uses of AI as well. And we've really got to the point now where I think, well, however you're using it, okay, there's more things coming in. Good, let me just wait and see. Give you time to do this, editing emails. Good, thanks everyone. Okay, so we really got to the point now where it's not so much about your AI strategy, but if you don't have an AI strategy, you really don't have a business strategy, because it's so embedded into everything that's happening in the world that now we need this, now we need to adapt to it. In the same way as during the pandemic, if you didn't have a strategy for managing COVID and the effect it had in your workplace, you basically didn't have a business strategy, right? If you didn't have a strategy to get through the GFC, you didn't have a business strategy. It wasn't a GFC strategy, it wasn't a COVID strategy, and now it's not just an AI strategy, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And this is all part of this bigger conversation around the future of work. So we talk about the future of work. It's got different elements like people working from home, looking at what work's coming up in the future, looking at how we collaborate and how teams are structured differently, looking at reaching out beyond our organization to wider networks, looking at the sort of skills that we need and the mindsets that we need to be adaptable and look at change and be flexible to manage that. Obviously looking at money and what that means, not only in work, but what it means for society. Taking out a crystal ball and looking at what's coming up in the future. And of course now, AI. But all of this is part of the future, a bigger conversation around the future of work. So even though I'm saying this today is all about AI and what it means for leaders and organizations, it's all a part of this bigger conversation. If you want to know, like simplifying this into 4 areas, I say there are 4 A's about the future of work. So first, assess what work you'll need to do. So what work's coming up in the future. So this is a bit of crystal ball gazing. Then how are you going to attract the people who are going to be relevant and useful and skilled to do that work? And then this is the AI bit. How do you combine humans and machines together? How do you augment humans with AI? And also be willing to adapt. Like this is creating a culture of change. So all of those 4 things go together when you're looking at the future of work. And often I'm finding, even now, that many organizations go, yep, we're good with AI, we know that we need it. Right, Gihan, tell us what we need to do. And so they look at these 2 things. They look at what's AI going to look like in the future and how do we use it. That's good. That's really good, but sometimes they forget about the things on the right-hand side as well, which is the people side of AI. And today I want to start by talking about the people side of it, and especially the people side of it outside what you're doing. So we'll look at customers and employees, and then we'll look at your AI strategy. So it used to be that people, in fact, I saw this quote a couple of years ago. It used to be that you need to be really techie to use AI. It was certainly the case 30 years ago when I was at uni. You didn't even know what AI was. Most people couldn't spell AI at that time, but even if you knew about it, you didn't have access to it. And if you had access to it, you didn't have the technical skills like I did to be able to use it. And this quote I saw a couple of years ago. I'm not a techie, so I can't use AI. But that's not the case anymore. So already your customers are using AI, your employees are using AI, your investors are using AI, even your critics from outside are using AI. So you need to understand how the world has changed and then figure out how AI fits into that. Okay, so broadly, we'll talk about how your customers are using AI, how your employees are using AI, and then we'll look at what that means for you with your AI strategy. So broadly, they're the three things we're going to cover today. Okay, so we will stop for questions along the way, but let me start off with this customers area first. Okay, personal story. A couple of weeks ago, had a little bit of back pain. Don't worry, I'm fine. Tiny bit of back pain when I woke up, and I found just a little bit tricky. And it seemed to go away during the day, and I thought it was fine. Then the next morning, I woke up, the pain was back. It was a little bit less, but again, it went away pretty quickly. So I thought this is something I need to get looked at. So I made an appointment with a physio in a few days' time. But I also said to ChatGPT, I gave it my symptoms and said to ChatGPT, what do you reckon? And it responded saying, oh, is there any other pain in your leg, or is there any headaches or other things in your head? And I said, no. And then it came back and said, well, this is pretty common. It'll resolve itself in 7 to 10 days from the time it started. There are a couple of exercises that I can give you. There's one called cat-cow to arch your back, and another one called glute lift or something, and just do those, and gave me instructions on doing those, and then but see a physio if pain persists. Well, I'd already got the appointment with the physio, so I went to see her a few days later, and I explained the symptoms to her, and she said to me, is there any pain in your legs? Is there anything neurological? I said no. And she said, well, this sort of thing resolves in 7 to 10 days. Here are a couple of exercises that you can use. You have a cat-camel, she called it, and a pelvic lift, and I'll send you a little video to do it, and come back if 10 days from it started and it hasn't resolved itself. And sure enough, it resolved itself. But the point is that ChatGPT gave me exactly the same answer that the physio did. Now, the point I'm making today specifically is that I used AI as a customer to get some advice, get some initial advice. Now, I was always going to go to a physio because I know that AI, I wouldn't trust it, especially with anything like health advice, but anything outside my expertise. But from the physio's point of view, lots of physios are using AI now. They're using AI for recording and recording their appointments. They're using AI for scheduling. They're using AI for looking at complex cases and getting some advice. They're using AI for ongoing academic research and their ongoing professional development. But regardless of all of that, even if this physio wasn't using any of that, and I think she was because she seems pretty young and savvy and using those sort of things, but even if she wasn't, her customers are using it. Now, some customers, like I, would say, oh yeah, look, I'll ask ChatGPT, but I'll go to the physio as well. Some customers would say, I'm going to use it for figuring out what questions I should ask the physio. Some would use it for recording the appointment themselves and then getting advice from ChatGPT to summarize it and maybe point out the things that the physio said. Some will decide that they're not going to use a physio at all, especially if they use it once and at ChatGPT once, and the physio said the same thing. They might go, why would I go back to a physio? I can just use ChatGPT. So there's some like I who, and I admit, I've got a little bit of flexibility to go to physios during the working week. And I can afford to go to a physio, so I've got some of those privileges. And others, even with those privileges, but especially if they don't, might choose differently. So your customers might be doing something different. Your clients might be doing something different with AI, which means that when they engage with you, whether you're using AI or not, their interactions are going to be different. And if all you can do is do what you've always done, then you'll fall by the wayside, because there are other people who understand how the world has changed, and that client might go to a different physio next time. Okay, I'm going to stop soon and give you the chance to ask some questions. Oh, but I've got a magic trick here. So you remember in the early days of the iPhone, Steve Jobs did this thing where he came on stage. Where's my little prop here? He came on stage with like a manila folder like this, and he goes, let me show you our latest product. And he pulled out of there his little Mac, like that fit into like a little envelope like this. So I'm going to do my version of this. So would you believe, folks, on the other end of this Zoom call, that right now in front of you, I'm going to, I've got a normal manila folder, I'm going to pull out of here a full-sized telephone directory. Ta-da! There you go, yellow pages. Yellow pages. How good is that, right? Oh, by the way, it's not just yellow pages, it's yellow pages and white pages. Now, if you're too young to know what a telephone directory is, maybe you don't get the significance of that. But for us, who used to have these massive telephone directories, that both the white pages and the yellow pages were massive. They were at least 5 times as thick as this for both of them. And I reckon lots of organizations, if you miss what's happening with AI, it's like you're still advertising in the yellow pages. So the people are advertising in the yellow pages, and now it's easy to get prime position in the yellow pages. You don't have to name your business AAA Plumbing or Aaron Aardvark, because it's easy to get there. There's fewer there. The problem is there aren't as many people looking. Okay, and this is the challenge with AI. And I'm not just talking about online marketing to attract people to your business organization. I'm talking about the fact that your customers are using AI before, during, and after engaging with you. And this is super important, that if you don't understand what your customers are doing, then they will choose somebody else. Okay, this is really important. So what do you do? What do you do? So let me show you some stats, some research that was done by the Australian Digital Inclusion Index, looking at how much are we using AI. And by we, I mean we as ordinary Australians. So not about you and your organization, but how much are Australians using AI. We're going to do a little bit of a little experiment here. We'll see how well this works. I haven't done this before. We'll see how well it works. So percentage-wise, if you say from a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is 10%, 2 is 20%, 3 is 30%, 4 is 40%, all the way up to 10 is 100%. What's the national average for the last year, that when the Australian Digital Inclusion Index did their survey, the national average of the amount of people using AI, or they asked the question like how many people have used a tool like ChatGPT or something like that in the last year. So on a scale of 1 to 10, and remember, multiply to them by 10. Okay, so let's see what we're getting to. So some people are going 80%, some people are going 50, 60, okay, 7. You remember you need to score it from 1 to 10, and that counts as 10 percentage points each. Yeah, okay, actually we didn't do too badly. Okay, you can see a 1 here. Oh, there's a 1 and a 2, it's a 10 or 20%, yeah, interesting. Okay, so as a group we didn't do too badly. Oh, it's coming down a bit. So according to this survey, 45% of Australians have used AI in the last year. So this sort of thing, I thought I'd try this experiment because you know about the wisdom of the crowds, and there's a whole book about it where if you ask people who aren't necessarily experts in a topic, you ask them to guess and then you average their scores, which is essentially what we're doing here, then the result will be pretty similar to the actual answer from that experts would give. Okay, we haven't quite averaged, and it was a bit of a rough survey, but we didn't do too badly, so well done everyone. Okay, so about half of Australians have used AI in the last year. So they're actively using it, or at least started using it. So what do we do with AI? So I'm going to ask this as a poll. So let me bring up a poll question here for you. So I'm going to give you 4 options. This is A, B, C, and D. So what do Australians most use AI for? So if you think it's text generation, type A, image generation, B, and so on. So just type A, B, C, or D, and we'll see what's coming up. Okay, so text generation has taken up a very strong and early lead. The last one, social chatbot, is actually interacting with AI as kind of like a partner or a friend. Doesn't need to be deep, but you're kind of getting advice from AI on everyday things. Okay, so text generation came up as the highest, which is actually right. So text generation was the biggest. So 80% of people said we use AI for text generation. And the first person to get that right was Tiffany. Congratulations, Tiffany. So looking at the question again, text generation was 80%, and then the others went down by half each time. So image generation was 40%, still pretty high. Code generation, interestingly, was 20%, and using it as a social chatbot was about 10%. So code generation, obviously there's some people using it in their professional role, but more and more people are now using it even in their personal life without being a techie like I was 30 years ago. You can now do a lot with AI without having to be a coder. Okay. So, yeah, so lots of people are using it for that. So, Rach, question about this. So, do people even know they're using AI? Yes, it's a good question, right? Like, we have used AI for ages. If you use Google Maps or Apple Maps on your phone, that's AI. If you use social media and you see that things are being delivered to you in a certain order and sponsors ads are coming up based on your preferences and your clicks, that's using AI. If you use your Woolies card, Woolies rewards or Flybuys cards, and then you get emailed special offers and they're customized to you, that's using AI. So Rach, you're right. So some people don't even know they're using AI, or they don't care because they've been using it for such a long time. But these are people who are intentionally using AI. Now, it's not uniform across all ages, of course. So I just need to do a bit of an age test for you here. You know, when they do age tests, they always say there's an answer that says I prefer not to answer. So I'm going to do it, but kind of slightly differently. So I'm going to give you two tests here, and this will kind of tell me which age group you're in. Okay, so the first one is a very simple one. It's just I'd like you to translate this sentence here, and let's set this up so you can tell me when we're ready to go whether you can translate it or not. Okay, so here's a sentence. Okay, I won't try to pronounce it. Okay, I'm not going to ask you to actually answer it, but who reckons they can roughly know what that means? Just type in the chat yes or no. Okay, there's a few yeses, there's some no's. Yeah, Kate says I have a teenager, so yes. Washkan says the same thing, yes, because of my teenagers. Bronwyn says mostly. Paula says, do you agree? What do you reckon? Do you reckon they were slaying it? As the young ones would say. Okay, here's another one. This is the second one here, which is how are these two objects related? Okay, so again, I'll ask you whether you know the answer or not. You don't need to type it in, but maybe. All right, how are these two objects related? I did ask some young people this, and they go, oh yeah, they're just using it to compare the size of the pencil and whatever that other thing is. All right, yes, exactly right. Like, some people know this, right? So this would tell us, this would determine our ages. I reckon that most Gen Zs don't even know what that is. Okay, so why am I sharing this with you, apart from just a bit of fun around this? So if you look at the generations and their use of AI, not surprisingly, the younger you are, the more you're using AI. In fact, there's some people who, young people who have only been adults in the age of AI anyway, and they just use it all the time. I was speaking with a client a couple of weeks ago. She works for a mining company, and she said that she coaches her daughter's basketball team, and they use AI all the time. And she was talking to her daughter and her friends and going, what are you using AI for? Like, I see you chatting. I just want to know what you're doing. And they said, oh yeah, AI is like, it's kind of like one of our friends, but we know that if we ask it for facts, it's not necessarily reliable, but we treat it like we get some advice, just like we would from one of our friends, but then we'll verify it. So there are young people using it better than many professionals and older people. And even if you look at these stats here, you can see that if you had the last two, 25% of seniors, 65 and older, are also using AI now. So if this is your customer group, then they're using AI. like it or not. If that's the demographic of your customers, you have a look at that list and go, well, my customers are maybe 35 to 55. Well, there's a whole bunch of them who are using AI now. So I better get on that bandwagon. Okay, so actually, Rach, you asked a question about Coles and Woolies, and I was going to give that as an example. Like, everyone's using AI now, so just be aware that that's happening already. What's our government doing about it? Well, our government, sadly, has pretty much abandoned us when it comes to AI regulation and safety. So the EU is the world leading area around AI regulation. And a couple of years ago, they introduced their AI Act. And last year, the Australian government did a good thing. They said, well, we need to do some AI regulation as well. And so what we'll do is we'll take the EU Act and use that as a starting point to have 12 months of discussions and position papers. And we'll get an AI advisory team and steering committee to advise us. And the EU did some really good things around governance. So have a look at these things. So looking at risk, like making sure that, especially in risky areas, that your AI security is better. Make sure there's fairness, looking after citizens and patients and customers' privacy, getting consent, having transparency. If you dispute something, that it can be explained, so explainability in industries that regulated already and have high compliance needs, that AI will also conform to that, making sure that things are done safely, where human safety is concerned, and of course security, so AI systems aren't going to get hacked. Or your systems aren't going to get hacked by AI either. Okay, so that was really good. And around about August last year, they said, let's have 12 months of discussion. I noticed that towards the end of last year, when I did some research to see what the progress was, like, most of the stuff had disappeared. And they were saying, oh, well, it's all mostly covered by other laws that we've got already, so we're just going to have a very light touch. And so what they did was, we said, we don't care about any of this. What they're really doing is sucking up to the USA and Donald Trump, because this is the path that the USA has taken, that says we don't care about any of that. All we care about is that our systems can't get hacked. And for everything else, big tech companies, big AI companies, do whatever you want. And we just want to be the world's leader in AI. We want it to work as fast as possible. We want AI investment in our country, and we're not going to get that if we put all these pesky guidelines and guardrails and governance in place. Okay, so that's what that's what our government's doing. Doesn't mean that's what your organization should do. I think we should be better than our government, but that's where we are. Okay, let me just step off my little soapbox there and looking at those things. If you had to choose one of those 9 things that your customers care the most about from that list, which one of them do you think it would be? So again, I'll put up this thing here. Which one of those do you think your customers care about more than any other? Let's forget about security. Security says that you put stuff in place so you're not going to get hacked. Okay, so which one is the most important for your customers? Okay, and this is really important. I know it's like asking you to choose your favorite child. People always say they don't know who their favorite child is. I believe them. So obviously there's more than one of them, but it's really interesting to see what, as a group, we see that privacy is number 1. Okay, and this is not up to you. This is what your customers are saying. And that's really important to understand. So when you're building your AI strategy, make sure it's around, in this case for you, you might say privacy is super important. Consent is important. Okay, so your AI strategy obviously has to reflect what your customers expect of you. And if you don't do that, again, you'll lose customers. You may not be sued for it because the government has got very light regulation around it, but it is something that you want to do from the point of view of your business. Okay, I'm going to stop and let you ask me some questions. So now's a good time for you to do that. I'll leave this slide up in case you want to refer back to it. But please, if you've got any questions, type them in the chat. If you typed some earlier, I might have missed them because of all the other chats that we've had so far. So type them in now. Okay, there'll be other opportunities for questions as we go, so let me continue. Just want to make another point about customers separately from this area around governance. Okay, so Barbara's question, I do see it come in, so I'll look at that. What do you see leadership doing differently as a result of AI? So we will talk about that, Barbara. So let's talk about customers first, employees next, and then what you can do. And the third area is going to be the smallest because it's, there's lots of things you could do, but I wanted to give you the external picture first. So we'll get to that, Barbara. Good to see you here, by the way. It's been a while. Okay, one of your principles around AI is the way that your customers use it as well. Okay, and this is NEIGF. Does anyone know what NEIGF stands for? Okay, NEIGF is near enough is good enough. Okay, it's like the 80-20 rule. So 80% is good enough. It should be NEIGE, I know, but I got it near enough. I got it 80% right. Okay, the thing with AI and your customers using AI and ordinary people using AI is they're not expecting AI to be perfect. So as I was talking about, I won't say her name, but that client's daughter's basketball team, they're not expecting AI to be perfect. They understand there's some flaws with it and limitations with it, and they're okay with getting by. They'll go, yeah, we understand there's some issues, so that's okay. We can still use it as a valuable tool. This is another blast from the past here. Some people remember this ad campaign, Life Be In It. I was in primary school here in Perth when I first saw that campaign, which kind of ages me. At the time I thought, oh, this is only in Western Australia because, of course, when you're young, you just think that everything's about you. I think Victorians still think that. Okay, I'm really sorry, Victorian friends. This is a bit of an Aussie rules thing, so don't worry if it is about cricket. I'll be talking about New South Wales. See, I'm a bit of a... I'd say I'm a balanced Western Australian because I've got a chip on both shoulders. But remember this ad campaign. So we saw this when we were young, and it was all about exercise and so on and living a healthy lifestyle. And this Life Be In It campaign was cartoon characters. We looked at that and no one was going, oh, they're not real people. They're just cartoons. That's rubbish. We won't listen to that. We completely understood that it wasn't real, but the message was relevant. And this is what's happening with AI now. If you're on Instagram or TikTok, you see this. You see ads that are videos. I saw an ad the other day for a mount for my phone in the car, phone holder, and just beautiful video showing how it works and all the features and stuff. And it was narrated, obviously, by an AI voice. That didn't matter. The ad got the message across, and I didn't go, oh, well, this must be a rubbish product because it's an AI voice narration. So people are okay with that. Just be aware of that. In 2018, at the Engineers Australia conference, the opening keynote presentation was delivered by Sophia the robot. So Sophia the robot, she's still around, she's got much more sophisticated now, but was an early version of an AI-powered humanoid robot. So would walk on stage and could answer questions from the audience delivered through the MC. Now, so she was engaged, she was booked to be the opening speaker at the Engineers Australia conference. So who should have been booked? I should have. They should have booked me, right? I'm just as smart as Sophia. I look more human, I'm much better looking, all of those things, and yet they chose Sophia the robot. But why is that? The reason is because, and I know this because I do this all the time, speaking at conferences, conference organizer wants an opening speaker, or maybe even the opening speaker after the gala dinner the night before, to manage the energy in the room. So the opening speaker of the conference is there to create a great impression initially for the organizers in the event, that people go buzzing at morning tea, they're talking to each other and they're going, this is amazing, just can't wait to see what the rest of the conference holds. Sophia the robot created that same outcome for that client. Okay, so even though she's not as good as I am, she created the same outcome, and so her customer went to her rather than a whole bunch of other human professional speakers, even though we're better. Okay, right, so let me just see, there's some other questions coming around. Glenda says, are younger people not... my concerns about younger people not developing critical thinking skills or writing skills, or losing them myself. Yeah, so there are some skills that we need to teach. So the education system is not fit for purpose in teaching the skills that we need for the future. And critical thinking is one of the most important skills, and it's absolutely essential to teach exactly that skill. And at the moment, like their client's daughter and her friends are learning that critical thinking skill themselves. But we need to teach that more than we can need to teach kids to write essays. Tiffany says, how can businesses adapt? We're about to get to that, Tiffany. So that's coming up soon. The area about employees is coming up next, but that's going to be a bit shorter because a lot of the things around customers are obviously true for employees. Your employees are customers as well, right? In what they do in their life. Okay, let's move on to that. So that second area is around employers. Please keep asking questions. I'm happy to do that. So with employees, your employees are using AI. Just like I said, your customers are using AI regardless of whether you are. So this survey from Google last year said that 75%, 3 in 4 knowledge workers are already using AI. But interestingly, the same time as that survey came out, another one came out from Salesforce, which is the end of 2024, so it's around about the same time, that said almost half of them aren't telling their boss that they're using AI. Okay, so they're using it, but they're not telling their boss. Why do you think they're not telling their boss? Okay, can I just see some guesses about why they're not telling their boss? I'll tell you the top 3, but there are some other answers that came in as well. Worried about losing their job. They're embarrassed. People think they cheat. That was one of the top 3. Being smarter than their boss or being smart and valuable. They're not allowed to. Feel like it could be cheating. Yeah, like the top 3. The top 3 were they were worried that they'd be seen as incompetent because they're using an AI tool. They would be seen as being lazy because they were supposed to put all the hard work in. It's almost like going, oh, you should be going out to the library, not using Google. And it's the same kind of feeling around AI. And they feel like using AI is cheating. So the fact is, again, like I was saying with customers, your employees are using AI as well. The other thing with employees is they might even be using it. Let me just see this. What else is coming? The policy in place. And the fear of getting replaced. Yeah, look, the fear of getting replaced, that is a real fear. Okay, and we'll talk about that very soon. The other thing that's happening with AI is a lot of people are using AI to find jobs. And not only finding jobs, maybe finding their next job. So I was speaking at a conference for ARI, the Australian Human Resources Institute, and I shared this slide here about how when somebody applies for a job and they turn up to the interview, they might have been using AI in lots of different ways leading up to the interview. They might have started by using LinkedIn's Career Explorer to figure out what the right career is for them. Then they look at JobGether, which is a career coach, to again help them figure out what the next step is. They use Lightcast AI to see what the current labor market looks like. They're going to JobScan to use an AI-powered search for jobs, open jobs that are available. Work 180 finds organizations where their values match with their applicants' their own values. They go to Azuna, which is another job search. When they're ready, they go to Resume Builder and maybe even CoverDoc to write application letters. And then they might go to Udly, which gives them coaching for how to manage an interview situation well. And they do all of that before they even see you. Okay, so that was specifically for HR, but this is happening now, right? This is happening in the real world. People are looking for jobs and they're looking for maybe their next job. They're looking to come to work with you. And if you say, oh, you obviously used AI to respond to my application letter, we don't want you, then you're actually turning away people who might be the best people to work with you or to work for you. Okay. So, any questions or comments about that? I'm just interested in reactions to that. Like, your employees are using AI already. Feel free to respond with an emoji if you want. Yeah, so Diana says it's amazing. Yeah, look, and I'm not saying every employee is doing that, Diana, but this is absolutely the case that employees applying for jobs, and there are a lot of HR groups, HR teams and other leaders who will go, this CV was written by AI, let's reject it. In fact, they often ask me, one of the most common questions I get asked is, we saw these applications which have obviously been generated by AI. What should we do with it? And I say, are you asking me how to reject them or how to recruit them? Right? Because they're the people that might be the ones that you need. Okay, as Leon says, they're smart, up to date with the technology. Stephen says, yeah, add your personal touch. But even if they didn't, if somebody's using a tool to solve a problem in their real life, and you go, yeah, they're a little bit rough around the edges, but we can work on that, it's harder to get them to adopt AI in the first place. We had applicants using AI to present a presentation for the interview. The presentations were almost identical. Yeah, look, and this is the thing, right? So again, if AI can create those presentations, if you're using that as part of your assessment, the problem is with the assessment, not with the applicants. Right? So then you need a different way of assessing it. In fact, you want people who can use AI to create a draft presentation and then improve that later. Okay, so it's a challenging thing for leaders to do, for managers to do, for HR teams to do, for employees in general to go, the way that we're assessing people, the way that we're judging people, the way that we're measuring people is now stuff that AI can do. So we need a different way of measuring them so we can get more out of them. The other really, really important thing with AI is that you may hear people say this, and a cringe over the last couple of years, lots of AI experts, they come and speak on stage and this kind of their mic drop moment. Remember, AI won't take your job, but a person using AI will. Go off to thunderous applause. This is not true. I've never said that. And the reason I don't say it is because it's actually not true. Right? We know that AI is taking jobs. We saw this last year with Combank when they replaced 50 of their staff with an AI chatbot because they said that'll reduce the call volume in the call center. In fact, there's a story that came out at the time about one of the call center workers who lost a job, and she knew that she was training an AI chatbot for that. What happened was a month later, the chatbot was so bad that the call volume increased and they had to hire those people back. And this made worldwide news. This is an American publication which talked about what happened in Australia. Okay, so this is one of the things you have to be careful about. And we'll get to now, when we talk a couple of little strategic points, what you should be doing about that. Okay, so let's talk about this area here. So we talked about customers and the external from customers. We talked about employees who are internal, but they work for you, right? They're just as important, more important than your customers. So let's talk about the you side of it. And I want to break this down into two bits. Pretty obviously, because we talked about customers and experience and employees, let's look at the customer experience first and then the employee experience. So what are you doing internally in your organization to enhance the customer experience? And you have to be really careful about this because everything that you're doing affects your reputation, especially because it's external. If you get it wrong, it can go badly wrong. So here's an example with Apple when they launched their credit card in 2019. They assessed people, applications automatically using AI. And there was this couple, this husband and wife, who applied, and they both got their cards approved, but the husband got 20 times the credit limit of the wife, even though their financials were identical. The only difference was their gender. And of course, they were shocked and outraged and furious, and they complained to Apple. And Apple said, it's probably because you got different credit ratings. But when they looked into it, the woman actually had a higher credit rating than the man, but still, Apple's AI algorithm rated her a much bigger credit risk. Okay, and the only difference was the gender. And you know what? Like, we are lucky that we even know about this story, because there would be thousands of other women who got whatever credit limit they were assigned and thought that's okay, right? But this was a scandal at the time. And this is one of the challenges when you get AI making decisions for you. This is another example from Taco Bell. McDonald's did a similar thing. They tried to use AI chatbots for their to take drive-through orders, in the little speaker, and those speakers are terrible anyway. The AI was terrible at that, and also it's very easy to prank it. There's an example of a customer who ordered 18,000 bottles of water, and the AI just wasn't intelligent enough to know that was unreasonable. Another example from 7-Eleven in Australia, they used AI in their shops. They asked people to do a survey, and they gave them a tablet to do the survey, or lent them a tablet to do the survey, but without their knowledge, they were also taking photos of the customers, so that they could use that for their then AI processing and for ongoing marketing. And they got into real trouble. They tried to talk their way out of it, but of course they got in trouble and got fined for it. I won't talk a lot about the customer experience today, because I wrote a whole report about that called the AI-powered customer experience. It's free. It's on my website. Just go to gihanperera.com and you can download it. And it talks about things that you can do in different areas of your business or organization to enhance the customer experience using AI, and using AI in a professional, safe, responsible, ethical way. So those three cautionary stories are in there. There's a chapter about governance in that report, but there's also the sort of things you should avoid, and the guardrails to put into place, but also other ways that you can proactively do that. The employee experience, I think, is really interesting. So very briefly again, because we're going to talk a lot about strategy today, but very briefly, let's look at a couple of things in the employee experience. So again, I'm going to ask you to engage here. So MIT did a report last year, or did some report where they found that a certain percentage of AI projects failed. Okay, in the last couple of years, lots of organizations have done AI projects, and a certain percentage of them failed. So to the nearest 10%, can you type in what you think? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, just put in those numbers. How high or low do you think it was? I'll share with you then what MIT actually found. Okay, so people are hovering around the 50%, 80%'s high there as well. Okay, so the answer was 90%, actually 95%. 95% of AI projects failed. Okay, these are people who are AI positive, they brought AI in, they were supposedly doing all the right things with AI, and yet 90% of those projects failed. 95% of those projects failed. And the biggest reason when they looked into it was they didn't bring their employees along on that AI journey. Okay, and now employees want to, as much as they're doing it with the kids' basketball teams or the kids themselves who are now being employed, as much as they're already using AI, they want their employers to help them. So what do they want? AI training. When do they want it? Now. Okay, so they absolutely want that. So let's do another little poll here. In your opinion, how many Australians, so this is some Australian research done by EY, Ernst & Young, how many Australians, and type in A, B, C or D, expect their employer to provide AI training for them? Okay, 25% is A, 45% is B, 65% is C, and 85% is D. So D is taking the lead, or C is catching up. I feel like I'm calling a horse race here. Okay, good. Thanks, everyone. So the answer was C. It was 65%. The first to get there was Kathleen. Congratulations, Kathleen. So, like not everyone, but 2/3 of employees expect their organization, their company is going to be providing that kind of training. And even if you provide that training, that's not enough. It needs to be ongoing training. And it needs to be proper training, appropriate training. If you think that your version of AI training is saying, hey, we got 20 Copilot Enterprise licenses, whoever'd like one, put up your hand, we'll give you one for 3 months, go for it. Okay, that's not AI training. It needs to be there and it needs to be ongoing. A similar question came up earlier to this. This is, I asked people beforehand what questions you have about AI. This was one that came up. I'll keep it anonymous because I didn't ask for permission to share their name, but it's a concern about people using AI and just putting confidential, private, inappropriate information into AI, and then it becomes part of the AI tool's training data in the future. So privacy breaches, security breaches, confidentiality breaches. So you need that ongoing training. And when it comes to training, it's always a question like, and people go, well, I can't if I train my people, they'll be good, but then they'll leave. And I go, well, the alternative is you don't train them and they stay, right? So you have to give them the training, and you have to make it ongoing training and professional development. Now, the good news is it doesn't need to be that you need to ship them off to a training room and down tools for a day or a week to do their AI training. There's lots of ways that you can do on-the-job training now as well. If there's another report on my website about future ready skills. If you download that, that's free as well. There's a page in there about ways to do on-the-job training, not just for AI, but on-the-job training rather than, or in addition to, formal training courses. The other thing that people are really asking about a lot, and I put this in here because a couple of people asked about this, is AI agents. So these are, rather than you talking to AI and using it as an assistant, an AI agent is kind of programmed to go off and do stuff. And people are worried that AI agents are going to take their jobs. And it is happening already. So there's a reason for them to be worried. And I think you should also be worried the other way, that AI agents open up a huge risk for you as well. And it's like being wired on coffee. So I saw this little poster here that said, drink coffee, do stupid things faster with more energy. And AI agents can be like that because you program them and they go off and do things faster than a human can at a higher volume that humans can. And people get trapped by them. They get too reliant on them, or they're too confident. Just last week, the director of AI safety at Meta, Meta, the company behind Facebook, Instagram, she set up an AI agent to sort through her inbox and prioritize the emails for her, so it'd be easier for her to see what is in her inbox. The AI agent she created, she accidentally created an AI agent that went through and deleted everything in her inbox. And she said, and she admitted this, and she said, my fault, and this would happen, but she said she could see the emails disappearing and there was no way she could stop the agent. She had to run over to her laptop and then do something there or call IT to stop the agent. So this is one of the problems, one of the challenges when you use AI agents. Absolutely, they're really powerful, but be very, 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 very careful when you start using them. And also keep in mind that if you're not having conversations with your team already about the impact of AI, the use of AI, their fears about AI, their concerns about what it might mean for their future, then you need to be doing that. I've got a worksheet about AI conversations. I'll make sure I send this out with the recording as well. And I recommend to all leaders and managers that this is one of the things that you do. You have conversations with your team about AI, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because you need to bring your people along on that AI journey. Okay. Let me do last opportunity for questions and just see if there's any others that have come in before we wrap up. Our timing's perfect. So Crystal says, do you think it'll become the employer's responsibility to bridge the gaps between AI and life skills? Look, as much to the same extent as it's employers' responsibility now to bridge the gap between what they're taught in the formal education system and what they actually need in like real life, if you like. So that's always been the case, Crystal, and I think it's going to be the case to that same extent. So yes, to some extent, yes, where it's relevant to what you do at work. Okay, but I really think if the purpose of education is to create well-formed adults, then that's what we should be doing. We should be focusing on that, not only teaching knowledge and teaching facts. Obviously not teaching facts because you can look them up. It's no longer the case that teachers can't genuinely say, oh, you won't have a calculator with you all the time when you grow up. That's why you need to learn times tables. We know that's not true now, right? And you won't have an AI with you all the time. They already have AI with them. Okay, so we need to transform the education system as well. Stephen says yes. So if they don't have those skills, yeah, absolutely, it's going to be a competitive advantage if they get those skills through work. Should we assume that in a year or two, staff will be familiar with some kind of AI tools at base level? See, the thing is, this is really mixed, Vivek. So it's already happening. There's some who are really, really competent, and in my experience, there's no way to predict what that's going to be. So, for example, I'm doing 4 keynote presentations next week, and 3 of them are specifically about AI. The 4th one, they've asked me to include AI in my presentation as well. And they're very different organizations, very different sectors. And based on their industry, I'm making no predictions about their level of AI capability, competence, or confidence. In my experience, what I found is it's not the tech people necessarily who are the best with AI. It's anybody, because you don't need to be a tech person anymore. Okay, it's like, are you good at research? And it's irrelevant to whether you've got the technical ability to program a search engine like Google. It's about using it. All right, do I have any training providers, resources, or tools to... yes, look, there's somebody that I came across recently. I'm just going to put this in the chat before we wrap up. Amantha Imber, she says her name's Samantha without the S, at Inventium. I'll just put that in the chat for everybody. She's got a great, I had a little bit of a preview of some AI like online program that she's got, online but also interacting with the community, and it looks great. It looks really good. And I know her, she's a speaker colleague, but no other association with her apart from that, so, and I highly recommend it. Okay, so one of the things I often say at the end of my presentations is this quotation from Benjamin Brewster. He said, in theory, there's no difference between theory and practice, but in practice, there is. So if you've got some ideas from today, please don't just put them on a to-do list that never gets done. Please don't put it off till you're not as busy. Start before you're ready, because the world isn't waiting for us. So get stuff into action. Start doing things now. That's the best way to be fit for the future. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the future. Bye for now.